Welcome to this new video. It's Friday the 19th of September and that means it's the weekend of the last gravel race of the season here in Sweden. It's also the last race of the SWE Cup. It's called Dalsland Gravel Race and it's out in Bengtsfors. It's about 4.5 hours driving from here, from Stockholm. Just packed up the car, going to pick up 3 of my teammates, Adam, Leo and Thomas. And then we're driving out. We booked the hotel there. We'll stay there because the start is very early at I think 9:30 or something like that. Have to be fresh and well rested. So that's why we do it as an overnight trip. I did it last year and it was rather easy in the beginning. There was a tricky part in the beginning, but then the pace eased off quite a lot for the first 80 kilometers. And then there was a really tricky part with like a bridge, you can almost say. Maybe even not, because it was so narrow that you couldn't even ride over it. You had to walk, and it came by surprise, I think, for most people, because no one really did the recon of the track, and it was very flowy and easy all the time before. And I ended up all the way in the back, and yeah, the race was basically over at this point. The legs are feeling pretty okay. Did yesterday my first harder effort since coming back from Badlands, which is pretty much 2 weeks now. They felt okay, but also not great, so I have no idea how it's going to be tomorrow. The preparation for next season for myself is already in full swing. Now that the UCI announced that we can have, or we will have, a spot in the prio box in the beginning for the top 3, which I got through my qualification in Denmark, where I finished second. So I'm a bit motivated more now, because first I didn't plan at all to line up early, just start from the back and see how it goes, because last year we lined up about 2.5 hours before the start and we're only in position 100 something. So I definitely don't want to repeat that this year. But yeah, now that we have a position in the front, we'll see how that goes. So the goals changed a little bit, but yeah, as I mentioned in other videos before, the main goal is really just to get the watts per kilo up now. And I took Badlands basically as a starting point for that. Already put in a lot of hours now after Badlands. Body felt really great overall, especially on the base. Did like 23 hours right after coming back from Badlands, and this week I also already have about 11 hours, I think. So with the weekends also going to be close to 20 hours again. And the body felt really great so far, so let's see how that goes. Good morning and welcome from Bengtsfors here. As you can see, the weather is not with us today. It's slightly raining, not too bad yet, but I think we will still get wet just by riding. And there's also supposed to be some rain later, so let's see. Going back in now, we checked in late last night, didn't film much. We just basically drove, stopped for pizza on the way, and then headed straight to bed, so not much happened. Already pinned the numbers now, and also tried to set the alarm for 7 so I can start with my bike up preloading, as well as I already had a bagel which I brought, because I know the breakfast is not opening until 8 a.m. now, so we're basically just waiting for that to get some more food in. Then we'll get dressed, pack everything in the car and head to the start and finish, which is just right behind me here somewhere, 5 minutes going. So no big of a deal, even though we already started at 9:20. I think we will have somewhat of a tailwind in the beginning, and then afterwards we'll have maybe cross headwind or something. So we'll definitely want to make sure that I survive the first 100 kilometers and can stay in the front group going back down to the start and finish. But yeah, going in, grabbing some breakfast, and then see you at the start line.
And we jump straight into the footage. You can already see me chasing the peloton in the neutralized start zone. Despite of us leaving the hotel with a decent amount of time, it was still a bit stressful in the end to get ready, so I completely forgot to film anything at this point. I rolled up to the start, and with my chain still being in the hardest gear, after 3 strong pedal strokes my chain snapped. I luckily still had a spare chain with me as part of my toolkit from Badlands. So I quickly rushed back to the car, swapped the chain, and here we are. I kept it as calm as possible. As from last year's experience, I expected us to stop again at the actual time gate for a second before the official start happens, which luckily was also the case this time. As I didn't really have time to warm up, it wasn't too bad chasing the peloton. It gave me a little bit of effort into the legs and warmed them up. As my thoughts were in so many different places, I didn't really pay attention to everyone around me. I was still loading the route on my Wahoo as well as trying to put on the gloves. The race start came by surprise, and it took me a sec to get going again, while still trying to put on my second glove. Another thing that I did not notice until this point is that they let all categories start at the same time, even the ones that only did 80 kilometers. So first I had to navigate around the slower groups. We had this nice smooth gravel in the first kilometer where I managed to make up half of the peloton. However, I don't have enough time to reach the front when we hit the short but technical climb. The wet and slippery surface creates problems for many riders, causing the speed to drop so much that I lose momentum and almost fall off the bike myself. Most people also use road pedals, and watching them desperately try to clip back in while blocking the rest doesn't make it easier. After only 4 kilometers of technical trails, we hit a longer tarmac stretch, and from now on it would be only champagne gravel and tarmac, with only a few shorter kickers in the first 80 kilometers. Due to those facts, the speed in the front is usually not so high, as no one wants to put in the work that early in the race. So it was time to put the head down and try to bridge over to the front. We catch a lot of riders in the first few kilometers, but also lose a lot of them pretty fast again. No one is really willing or able to help to keep up the speed, so I have to pace it myself. At kilometer 14 we spotted a bigger group in the front, and this was also the point where I caught the front last year. So at this point I felt like we were already closing the gap. It takes us another 4 kilometers to get closer, when we hit a longer climb of around 100 meters. Here I'm getting kicked a bit in the ass for the effort I put in so far, as the guys that chilled in the draft for most part used the opportunity to bridge over to the front. while I'm hanging for my dear life. I can see the group around 500 meters in front of me, but also do not have the power to go deep and close it at this point. Finally, at kilometer 27, on a longer tarmac stretch, I managed to catch that group. This is after around 50 minutes of racing with a normalized power of 400 watts, so my plan at this point is to just sit and catch my breath. It's the first time my heart rate actually drops under 180. Drafting was quite hard though, because all the gravel got into your eyes and blinded you. Riding in the front was almost nicer. I take a few pulls as I want to work with the group, but I keep them as short as possible at this point. At kilometer 34, we spotted the next group in the front, right at a small kicker, and quickly absorbed them. This group also included Hugo, who is usually found at the front of a race like this, so I was finally relieved to have joined the leading group. I had a quick look at the start list before the race, but you never know who actually shows up, and with my chaotic start, never got a proper look at the people around me. At this point I had no idea how many are in front of us. However, with a normalized power of almost 400 watts, an hour and 15 minutes into the race, I was a bit worried that I invested too much. Not much happens the next 60 kilometers. The group works decently together even though a few guys only hang on, which lead to some attack attempts, which are shut down. At this point I happily take the easier pace, especially as I did not feel like anyone would catch us from behind. The next critical point came at kilometer 92, which was the narrow bridge I mentioned earlier in the video. And you can maybe see now how it becomes a problem with 100 riders hitting that. This time we're only around 15, so not much stress and no need to fight for position. Only a couple of kilometers later, we hit a short climb where Hugo launches another attack. Unfortunately, I'm not quite able to keep up with everyone else. I have to solo chase the group for 10 kilometers to catch back on. Right when we hit another key part of the course, on an old railway track, which is especially tricky in the wet conditions, the pace suddenly drops. With no options to overtake, I find myself in the second group once we hit the tarmac. From here, it's only 6 kilometers to the next key point of the course, Bucket. This is the longest and steepest climb of the day, with 150 elevation meters and an average grade of 5%. It seems rather tame, but that's mostly due to the dip in the middle. As you can see, most of it is 10% and more. I pushed to get a small gap to my group going into the climb, so I would have a bit of a buffer down the road. Almost at the top, the guys from the back are catching me and we can also spot the front group again. We sadly do not catch them, as another small but very steep kicker before the proper descent takes out the speed. The descent ends in a tarmac section, which goes straight into another climb. So I used the opportunity to create a buffer again, as well as testing the response of the group, as I feel like they're all quite tired. With a steep and technical finish, going solo to secure the first out of this group is my best chance. I create a decent gap and the group just catches me on the crest of the climb. For the next 10 to 15 kilometers it's mostly me pushing the pace, so I decide to fall back a bit and relax for a second, as we soon would hit some narrower gravel with a lot of railroad crossings, which would give me a good opportunity right away. After a few of those pinch points, I get into the front of the group and turn up the pace, without going too deep, which instantly creates a gap. A few more pinch points follow and I have a good gap to the group behind me. Knowing that they're all tired and it's rather flat for the next 10 kilometers, I assumed they would not really pick up the pace. I kept the speed high without going too deep, so I can still have some punch left for the last 2 kilometers. In the last 2 kilometers, we first go up to the start through this residential area without any flagposts, and I almost get squeezed into a pancake by those 2 cars. After the short gravel stretch, which we already know from the start, we turn right into another technical section, which I can thankfully take safely as the gap is big enough. Very happy to still be able to push 410 watts for 6 minutes after 4 hours of racing. Definitely getting stronger in that area. In the end, I finished 9th, which is also where I learned that I was never in the front of the race. Apparently, right at the start, a group of about 6 got away and we never caught them again. Overall, my race time was over 20 minutes faster than last year. With an average wattage of 330 watts and a normalized power of 360 for over 4 hours and 15 minutes, this is by far my best personal ever. It left me very satisfied and with a good feeling going into the last and biggest race of the year, the Gravel World Championship.